Hey there, everybody. Welcome into the Ben Maynard program. Thanks for being here. I have a guest in studio today. How's that? This is my niece, Marina. Oh, you can say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you can say hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, don't be camera shy. It's okay.
I'm going to talk with my hands only the whole time.
I thought only Italians did that. But anyway, so yeah, we're just having a little bit of fun today on a low-key Sunday. Our football teams stink, and so we decided to get away from the television to come up here to the studio and just horse around. And we'll see how it goes. If it's worth it, we're putting it out for you. How's that?
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see who has the most views on all your episodes. I don't know.
Why? Because she'll put it out on Instagram and
I'll get those views
yeah,
up.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, we're going to use Marina to boost the numbers for this program. So, as you know, if you're watching this, the show is always available on YouTube right here, and I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, even if you don't subscribe, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. That would be tremendous. Always, the show's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and what else is it available on? Amazon Music. Yeah. So there you go. So plenty of ways to take in the show. And with that, we'll recap last week. Last week's episode was Loverboy. So if you haven't taken that one in, a lot of good information. And I encourage you to give the show a listen, give it a view, and then seek out some of the music that we had or that I featured on the program. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. And with that, once again, here's my niece Marina. Marina's in visiting from Austin, Texas. So
That's my
say,
baby.
yeah. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. UT. I might get some cancels. It's probably confusing with my LA hat, hook 'em horns, but you got to rep both.
Okay. All right. So what? Why did you come out here to visit this time around, Marina?
So I was in town in Orange County visiting for my dad's 60th birthday.
Okay.
Big
Nice.
60, so we had a birthday party yesterday for him. And one of my girlfriends celebrating her engagement with her fiance. So that was last night, and figured would stay through the holidays for Thanksgiving.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So Marina's going to be here for Thanksgiving. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Marina. Oh, by the way, people, yes, for those of you watching the program here, yeah, she's a little darker than me. So how are we related? We're related. We're related by
spray tan. So this gentleman is lucky enough to be married to my aunt. So that is the relation by
I'm
law.
lucky enough. Yeah. No, she's right. She's right. I am the lucky one in that relationship. That's for sure. So what else? What else you got going on?
Just your typical corporate queen, girly.
Okay.
Working that 8 to 5.
What else? What do you have planned while you're going to be out here in SoCal? You're going to be here, beyond Thanksgiving.
Right? So I will be here until the Saturday after Thanksgiving on my early flight. So, what I've done so far, really just catching up with some old friends. I'm staying with one of my best friends. She's my oldest friends in terms of time frame, not an age. Right. Her and I have been best friends since high school. So I've been staying with her. That's been a lot of fun to spend that time together. And then I will be working down in San Diego where we have our headquarters a couple of days.
Okay.
And then taking the train back up, finishing the work week just at home. And then I have the week of Thanksgiving off. My brother and his wife and kids will all be in town. So our little tradition that we started last year is spending that week of Thanksgiving together. And
then it pretty much culminates right here in my home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, lucky you.
Lucky me again. It's luck all over the place.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what it is you do for a living.
So I am a director of recruitment for travel nursing.
Okay.
So I essentially manage a team of recruiters who have staffed facilities all across the country during the pandemic and even now through post-pandemic.
Nice. Nice. All right. And it pays well enough that she was able to relocate to Austin. She bought her own condo and everything, or townhouse. What do we call it in Austin?
Well, in my particular complex, it's a condominium.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right. So congratulations to Marina, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I just had my 2-year, or actually, I think on the 20th will be my 2-year anniversary of moving.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's that?
Music.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can probably hear those voices. That voice right there in the background.
We have an audience.
Yeah, we do.
For the first time, I'm making history on the program.
Not only do we have an in-studio guest, but we have an in-studio audience too. How great is that? Makes it sound like we've got a huge studio here, right? Yeah. So, tell us about what kind of music, since it is a story-based podcast, but we talk a lot of music on this show. So tell us a little bit about the music that you like.
So just to take it back to Austin really quickly,
yeah.
I visited for the first time 2.5 years ago, moved very shortly after visiting for the first time. And I was dating somebody at the time when I moved. And he told me, well, Austin's the live music capital of the world. And I was like, no, the fuck it's not. I've never heard of Austin until like a year and a half ago at that time. And then I was leaving to come back home to California, and I looked up and there's a huge like marquee sign, live music capital of the world. And I felt like the biggest asshole.
It's a good thing this program isn't FCC regulated, right? Yeah. Potty mouth over here.
I thought this was a keep it real show, so I could clean it up. Clean it up before putting on performances.
No, this is not necessarily for kids, so that's okay. This is an adult program. We just don't have to get real raunchy. But no, we're not going to prohibit anybody from using profanity. So now, look, I don't know about music capital of the world. I know that there's a great music scene in Austin, but if I'm comparing the two, I would say Nashville is really the music capital of the world.
Well, so it's actually the live music capital of the world.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's a live music scene in Nashville. That's for sure, all the way up and down Broadway. So, but that's okay. That's all right. We're not here to
we digress.
We're not well, we're not here to puff up chests for one city over the other. I don't really care. I just love music and I love live music. So that's all right. Yeah. So now that we went back a little bit, tell us about the music that you like.
I feel like this is such a I don't want to say loaded question because that feels negative, but it's such a broad question.
Okay. No.
I feel like music, my favorite music will depend on my mood.
Okay.
So I'm a very regimented, girly, I like a schedule. So if you were to ask me at the gym first thing in the morning, what are you listening to?
Okay.
Definitely DMX, very gangster rap music. So I can pick up the heaviest shit I can.
Wow. Okay.
I really I have a playlist called Hoodish. That's just my favorite.
All right.
Young Jock. I love that kind of music for working out.
See what I'm learning? I'm actually learning this about my niece here.
But then if you ask me, what about rolling into 7, 8 a.m.? What am I kicking off my corporate work day? That is usually jazz, BJM or BCG cafe radio, a coffee jazz situation. Right. And then I love country music. So at some point during the day, I'm listening to country, and I like old country, but it's more so new country that I listen to on a daily basis. I just saw Shania Twain at ACL in October.
Great.
Peak moment of my life.
Right.
Listen to it growing up with my mom, and I knew every song, every word to every song, and it was just such an amazing moment. Good. Yeah.
Is Shania what you would consider to be old country?
Absolutely. Even though she just dropped a new album, which that's
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Because of our age differences. Your old country is a lot different than my old country, but I do like Shania Twain.
Yeah.
And I don't consider her to be new country because of my age either. Or I mean, I don't consider her to be old country. She's not new country. And you mentioned the fact that she just dropped an album recently. I think that's great for what would be considered classic artists, whatever the genre is, that those artists or bands are still making new music to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so, for the fan base, I think it's so great. I believe that, fans are always wanting new material.
Wanting more.
Yes,
it's our
absolutely.
culture.
Well, the sad part is, since we are talking music and it doesn't matter what the genre is. Well, I shouldn't say that, because in the pop world, that music gets played over and over and over again. But if we were talking a lot of country music, from classic or older artists, even when they put out new material, it doesn't get a lot of, it doesn't necessarily get a lot of airplay. And the sad part is, when these artists play their new stuff live, that's the time in the show where people go out and go get a beer. And I think that's terrible, because for me, when I was growing up and taking in music, I couldn't wait till my favorite bands released a new album. And then if I had the opportunity to see that artist live, I wanted to hear the new stuff played live too.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like, and I was too young to get beer at the time, but I wasn't going to go take a bathroom break because they're playing the new material. No, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I think it depends on the artist.
Okay.
I think I went to the iHeart Country Music Festival in Austin, not this past May, but in 2022. And I stayed for the whole performance, or every performance. I didn't step away, but Carrie Underwood was one of the headlines.
Okay.
And so, when, what's the song? When I dug my key into the side before he cheats. I mean, how could I not get that one? So, everyone's screaming their head off. And then she goes, this was when she released her album with that song Ghost, I believe it was. And, when the fans don't know the song, you can definitely feel the energy shift. So I think that, I don't know. I think it makes a difference.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe and I will say this though, it's not a generational thing. It really isn't. Maybe it's just, as some people move on in their life, they're less interested in the new material from the artists they grew up appreciating. Maybe that's it. They have little interest in it. They only want to hear what they know, when maybe the artist was in their prime.
I think that's human nature. We're creatures of habits. We want what's familiar to us. And so I feel like maybe subconsciously, probably it's what has everything to do with.
So are you saying that I'm a geek then, right? Because I want to stick around for every song and I want to hear all the brand new stuff, right?
Sure, we'll call it that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm okay.
In your words, sure.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But so tell us a little bit more about some of the music that you like.
I mean, in what that's
well, I asked this question because it doesn't matter, because I asked the question about music that you like, and you said, well, that's really broad, depends on your mood.
Yeah.
And you said, this time of day you like jazz, this time of day you like gangster rap, and the fact, and then you said, and I like country music, and that's great that you like a lot of different genres of music. So I was just asking about maybe some of the other genres that you might appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so hard to answer because, I think that's why I love ACL, so Austin City Limits, because there's an opportunity to see so many different artists. So, seeing Shania Twain. Right. Last year in 2022, I saw Oliver Tree, who's indie. That was one of the most fun shows. We saw Sophie Tucker, one of the peak artists of the weekend.
Okay.
Last year. So I do like indie music a lot too. And they're like, like more a lot smaller artists that like I otherwise wouldn't really know.
Right.
Like if I hear their song, I'm like, I know this song, I love this song, but I probably don't even know the artist's name.
Okay. Well, we talked before we started recording, and you had mentioned, because you asked me how I got started in this, or how long I wanted to do a podcast. And I briefly had said that, my radio heroes were Mark and Brian. And
Mhm.
you said, oh, yeah, well, I mean, I used to listen to that with my dad all the time.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, they were on a classic rock radio station.
Mhm.
So is that a genre that you venture down?
Okay, so I mean, it's a broad genre. I still feel like.
It
So
it,
what
it, it
are
actually it actually is quite broad.
So I guess like which artist and what would be their like most famous songs?
Okay.
Cuz like I know like Nirvana is not like classic rock, but I feel like that's the same time, like the same era
Okay.
of, and so that would be like my preferred artist in that
Okay.
era.
Okay.
Um but I'll let you answer the
Oh,
question.
no. Okay. So you would probably lean, and yes, to be honest, if you're going into the genre of classic rock, like you said, it is very broad, because an artist like Nirvana is what's considered to be grunge.
Right.
And there was a grunge era in rock and roll, and that was really early to mid 90s. But now that's almost 30 years later. I mean, well, let's put it this way, Nevermind was released 31 years ago.
Mhm.
That now is not, it is grunge, but that there
Is classic
is
in
is
today's
another
time.
generation's classic rock.
Right.
So yes, I hear where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
So yes, it is very broad, because again, that genre is now someone's classic rock. But I guess when I speak of it, because I'm much older than you, and I go back to my appreciation for music, to the Beatles. I didn't see the Beatles in their heyday. I never saw the Beatles at all.
Right.
But by the time I was old enough to really kind of take in and appreciate music, I was still, the Beatles were still on everybody's mind, and they are to this day with new music that was,
Yeah.
dropped, a couple weeks ago. But those artists, the Beatles, the beginning of the British wave, or the British invasion, I should say, in the 60s. So you had the Beatles, and you had the Stones, and you had the Who, and then, I mean, gosh, so many acts out of England and the UK. But then, transitioning into artists that were coming up in the early 70s, during the time when I was able to start taking in and appreciating music. So that's where I go. That's where I start.
Hmm.
And then it just kind of goes from there. But, just one of those things.
Yeah. I mean, like, I definitely know in high school, like, I went through a big Beatles phase. Like,
Okay.
I was like very like peace, love, happiness. Like, that was like my vibe.
That
So,
was your
like,
vibe.
that was my vibe. But also, like, I liked, and like, this is so classic me because then also I liked going to like, I like EDM music. So like
Okay.
very like rave, like there's a little dubstep phase in there, not gonna lie.
Okay.
So but yeah, I loved the Beatles
Yeah.
a lot in high school. Like would listen to them much more than I do now, but I still appreciate the music for
Okay.
sure.
All right. That's all right. Look, and that's okay. And I think it's great that you, whether it was the fact that you were exposed to that via your parents, or it was something that you discovered on your own. Either way, it doesn't matter how music comes to us. It just, as long as, when it does, if it hits us right here. And I always say, it doesn't matter what the genre is. If it hits you right here, when you're listening to it, whether it's a song or a particular artist, you get that feeling right in your chest. And then, that's the good stuff,
Hmm. Absolutely.
because that's, I mean, it is all also subjective. Um, because just everybody likes something different, just like food. or just like art. Everybody perceives art differently. So, and music's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I sometimes don't know how to answer that question, because I'm like, I like what I like.
Yeah. Well, and I do too.
Yeah.
And my audience knows that I'm rooted in, you know, classic rock or hard rock. They know that's where I'm rooted, but they also know that I appreciate other genres. I love disco. I love disco. And sometimes when you say that, the first thought that people get is, oh, the Bee Gees.
No, I'm
Well,
thinking like Debbie Deb. That's like my first thought. And that's a parental influence,
Yeah, okay.
like obviously.
But
like like
yeah, of course.
like what, yeah.
You can ring my
Bell.
bell.
Yeah, no,
Ring my
exactly.
bell. Yeah, absolutely.
God.
That's because
I'm embarrassed right now.
no, but my audience knows that. They know that I like disco as well. They know that I like R&B. They know that I like country music. But for me, I like, you said older, and older is different to you than it is to me, but I like the classic country artists. You know, I love my Kenny Rogers. I love Ronnie Millsap. I love Mickey Gilley. And who doesn't love Dolly Parton? Come on, everybody loves Dolly Parton.
Working 9 to 5.
Yeah, well,
this is now turning into a
okay.
karaoke.
Yeah, maybe
I'm
not.
gonna be cringing later.
So, so it's, so like I said, everybody likes what they like, and there's nothing wrong, or it shouldn't be hard to say, well, what do you mean when you say, what kind of music am I into? It's just, it's all broad.
Yeah,
And
usually like if I'm on a date and a guy asks me, I'm like, I'm just gonna show you my liked play or my most recent plays on Spotify because it's so random.
Okay. And for me, I don't have where I like something or a different artist or a different type of music or genre, I should say, at a particular time of day. You know, when I'm working out, in fact, just lately, lately means like 2 months. I've been playing the same thing while I'm working out.
Yeah, no, I have the same playlist. I start
no.
with the
We're
same
not talking about playlist. I'm playing the same album over and over and over again while I work
on a
out.
loop.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not,
I mean, maybe they just don't make artists the same anymore, where like the whole album is like the banger you want to hear when you're doing deadlifts.
No.
So like, yeah, I need all the top hits.
And to me, well, I will say this too. I do, I listen to a lot of satellite radio, so Sirius XM, and Channel 8 is the 80s channel, and once a week they do a Big 40 countdown with the original VJs from MTV.
Yeah.
And they'll play on, particular week. It's that Billboard Top 40 from that week in whatever year during the 80s. And when it's a good one for me, and the good years are 80, 81, 82, 83, sometimes 84. And there's a mixed bag in those countdowns. And I'll listen to those, and even if while I'm working out, and even if it's just the softest song, the most adult contemporary song or ballad or whatever you want to call it, I'm not changing anything. I don't change stuff. I don't, when I listen to an album or a CD, and we were talking about physical product a little earlier, I start it and I play it through. I don't skip around and all that kind of stuff, because that's not how I grew up listening to music, which is so different than not just your generation, but even the generation before you. So I don't know. Did I stump you? Are you at a loss for words now?
I don't know that was a question.
It wasn't a question. It's just something you can comment on.
Yeah, no,
we're having a conversation here, you and I.
I know, but we know you like to talk a lot, so I was just giving you your moment. Thank you. I'm like, again, I'm the guest, but that wasn't a question.
I do a show, and the show requires me to talk.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't buy physical music a lot, but I think like a lot of my friends who are obviously not obviously, but are my same age, when they do, it is a record, and like you don't skip music on records either. So
Okay.
that is something that I think many people just play all the way through.
Well, and vinyl has definitely there's definitely been a resurgence in vinyl the last several years, and more so. And I think it has been somewhat marketed to a younger generation because you can go into Barnes and Noble, and not only do they sell vinyl records there, but they also hey, if you need the turntable, it's right here.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. I think like with the advancements in technology, like Marshall really like, or even, I mean, there's so many companies that have made the equipment, what is it called,
The turntable,
to
or
play
a
the
record player.
the record. You did something. So yeah, I think like record players are a lot more accessible and a lot more affordable, and
definitely,
and like better looking with the advancement in technology. And so I think like it's like a flex, I guess. Like some people want to have like that cool looking thing in their house and home to display.
It has become, like I said, I think it's I don't want to say it's marketed towards a younger generation, but it has become more appealing in its appearance and its availability as well.
And
So
just kind of goes back to, I think we briefly touched on like the consumerism.
well, and it's kind of like too, oh my gosh, my parents used to have one of those, and they used to have these 12-inch things here too. So you know what? Maybe it is kind of cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And then, so it's good stuff. But no matter how you take in your music, it's good stuff, period. Whatever gets to you. So anyway, so I guess that's a wrap for today. How's that? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I wasn't talking to you. I'm talking to my audience here.
Oh.
But I appreciate you being here.
We know nobody's going to watch until I bring the followers. So.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? I'm counting on Marina to boost the listenership. So, yes, but I do thank my niece, Marina, for being here. And I thank you for tuning in. And once again, if you are listening to the audio on this, it's available on multiple podcast outlets. So take it in. Once again, if you're viewing this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. And last but not least, I want to give thanks to my in-studio audience.
Woo! Best crowd.
First time ever. First time ever.
And he's like, and last.
Yeah, it might be. Who knows? But yeah, that's going to do it. That'll be a wrap. And thanks for being here. This is the Ben Maynard program. Tell a friend. Bam.